Hello and welcome to this week's Teen Story Share. This week I'll be sharing from The Siren by Kiera. Kiera is also the author of the popular Selection series novels, and recently the author actually donated copies of her Selection series novels in Spanish to our library. So once the library reopens, those will be the beginning of a new teen foreign language collection. Today I'm going to be reading the first 2 chapters of The Siren, and if you like them and you'd like to read more on your own later, this book is actually available through both Overdrive and Hoopla. If you've never checked out an ebook or e-audio through Overdrive or Hoopla before, we also have videos on our YouTube channel that show you just how to do that. Alright, The Siren by Kiera. It's funny what you hold on to, the things you remember when everything ends. I can still picture the paneling on the walls of our stateroom and recall precisely how plush the carpet was. I remember the saltwater smell permeating the air and sticking to my skin, and the sound of my brother's laughter in the other room, like the storm was an exciting adventure instead of a nightmare. More than any sense of fear or worry, there was an air of irritation hanging in the room. The storm was throwing off our evening's plans. There would be no dancing on the upper deck tonight, no chance to parade around in my new dress. These were the woes that plagued my life then, so insignificant they're almost shameful to own up to. But that was my once upon a time, back when my reality felt like a story, because it was so good. If this rocking doesn't stop soon, I won't have time to fix my hair before dinner, Mama complained. I peeked up at her from where I was lying on the floor, trying desperately not to throw up. Mama's reflection looked as glamorous as a movie star, and her finger waves seemed perfect to me, but she was never satisfied. You ought to get off the floor, she continued, glancing down at me. What if the help comes in? I hobbled over to one of the chaiselongs, doing, as always, what I was told, though I didn't think this position was necessarily any more ladylike. I closed my eyes, praying that the water would still. I didn't want to be sick. Our journey up to that final day had been utterly ordinary, just a family trip from point A to point B. I can't remember now where we were heading. What I do recall is that we were, as per usual, traveling in style. We were one of the few lucky families who had survived the crash with our wealth intact, and Mama liked to make sure people knew it. So we were situated in a beautiful suite with decent-sized windows and personal stewards at our beck and call. I was entertaining the idea of ringing for one and asking for a bucket. It was then, in that bleary haze of sickness, that I heard something almost like a far-off lullaby. It made me curious and somehow thirsty. I lifted my dizzy head and saw Mama turn her attention to the window as well, searching for the sound. Our eyes met for a moment, both of us needing assurance that what we were hearing was real. When we knew we weren't alone, we focused on the window again, listening. The music was intoxicatingly beautiful, like a hymn to the devout. Papa leaned into the room, his neck sporting a fresh bandage where he'd cut himself, trying to shave during the storm. "Is that the band?" he asked. His tone was calm, but the desperation in his eyes was haunting. "Maybe. It sounds like it's coming from outside, doesn't it?" Mama was suddenly breathless and eager, one hand on her neck as she swallowed excitedly. "Let's go see." She hopped up and grabbed her sweater. I was shocked. She hated being in the rain. "But Mama, your makeup, you just said—" "Oh, that," she said, brushing me off and shrugging her arms into an ivory cardigan. "We'll only be gone a moment. I'll have time to fix it when we get back." "I think I'll stay." I was just as drawn to the music as the rest of them, but the clammy feeling on my face reminded me how close I was to being sick. Leaving our room couldn't be a good idea in my state, and I curled up a little tighter, resisting the urge to stand up and follow. Mama turned back and met my eyes. "I'd feel better if you were by my side," she said with a smile. Those were my mother's last words to me. Even as I opened my mouth to protest, I found myself standing up and crossing the cabin to follow her. It wasn't just about obeying anymore. I had to get up on deck. I had to be closer to the song. If I had stayed in our room, I probably would have been trapped and gone down with the ship. Then I could have joined my family, in heaven or hell or in nowhere if it was all a lie. But no. We went up the stairs, joined along the way by scores of other passengers. It was then I knew something was wrong. Some of the passengers were rushing, fighting their way through the masses, while others looked like they were sleepwalking. I stepped into the thrashing rain, pausing just outside the threshold to take in the scene. Pressing my hands over my ears to shut out the crashing thunder and hypnotic music, I tried to get my bearings. 2 men shot past me and jumped overboard without even pausing. The storm wasn't so bad we needed to abandon ship, was it? I looked to my youngest brother and saw him lapping up the rain like a wildcat clawing at raw meat. When someone near him tried to do the same, they scrapped with each other, fighting over the drops. I backed away, turning to search for my middle brother. I never found him. He was lost in the crowd, surging toward the water, gone before I could make sense of what I was witnessing. Then I saw my parents, hand in hand, their backs against the railing, casually tipping themselves overboard. They smiled. I screamed. What was happening? Had the world gone mad? A note caught my ear, and I dropped my hands, my fear and worries fading away as the song took hold. It did seem like it would be better to be in the water, embraced by the waves instead of pelted by the rain. It sounded delicious. I needed to drink it. I needed to fill my stomach, my heart, my lungs with it. With that sole desire pulsing through me, I walked toward the metal rails. It would be a pleasure to drink myself full until every last piece of me was sated. I was barely aware of hoisting myself over the side, barely aware of anything until the hard smack of water on my face brought me back to my senses. I was going to die. No, I thought as I fought to get back to the surface. I'm not ready. I want to live. 19 years was not enough. There were still so many foods to taste and places to visit. A husband, I hoped, and a family. All of it, everything, gone in a split second. Really? I didn't have time to doubt the reality of the voice I was hearing. Yes. What would you give to stay alive? Anything. In that instant, I was dragged out of the fray. It was as if an arm was looped around my waist, pulling with precision as I shot past body after body until I was free of them. I soon found myself lying on my back, staring up at 3 inhumanly lovely girls. For a moment, all my horror and confusion disappeared. There was no storm, no family, no fear. All that had ever been or ever would be were these beautiful, perfect faces. I squinted, studying them, making the only guess that seemed possible. Are you angels? I asked. Am I dead? The closest girl, who had eyes as green as the emeralds in Mama's earrings and brilliant red hair that billowed around her face, bent down. You're very much alive, she promised, her voice tinted with a British accent. I gaped at her. If I was still alive, wouldn't I be feeling the scratch of salt down my throat? Wouldn't my eyes be burning from the water? Wouldn't I still be feeling the sting on my face from where I fell? Yet I felt perfect, complete. I was either dreaming or dead. I had to be. In the distance, I could hear screams. I lifted my head, and just over the waves I spotted the tail of our ship as it bobbed surreally out of the water. I took several ragged breaths, too confused to grasp how I was still breathing, all the while listening to others drown around me. What do you remember? She asked. I shook my head. The carpet. I searched my memories, already feeling them becoming distant and blurry. And my mother's hair, I said, my voice cracking. Then I was in the water. Did you ask to live? I did, I sputtered, wondering if she could read my mind, or if everyone else had thought it too. Who are you? I'm Marilyn, she replied sweetly. This is Aisling. She pointed to a blonde girl who gave me a small, warm smile. And that is Nombeko. Nombeko was as dark as the night sky, and appeared to have nearly no hair at all. We're singers, sirens, servants to the ocean, Marilyn explained. We help her. We feed her. I squinted. What would the ocean eat? Marilyn glanced in the direction of the sinking ship, and I followed her gaze. Almost all the voices were quiet now. Oh. It is our duty, and soon it could be yours as well. If you give your time to her, she will give you life. From this day forward for the next 100 years, you won't get sick or hurt, and you won't grow a day older. When your time is up, you'll get your voice back, your freedom back. You'll get to live. I'm sorry, I stammered. I don't understand. The others smiled behind her, but their eyes looked sad. No, it would be impossible to understand now, Marilyn said. She ran her hand over my dripping hair, already treating me as if I was one of her own. I assure you, none of us did. But you will. Carefully I raised myself until I was fully upright, shocked to see that I was standing on water. There were still a few people afloat in the distance, struggling in the current, as if they thought they might be able to save themselves. My mother is there, I pleaded. Nombeko sighed, her eyes wistful. Marilyn wrapped her arm around me, looking toward the wreckage. She whispered in my ear, You have two choices. You may remain with us, or you may join your mother. Join her, not save her. I stayed silent, thinking, was she telling me the truth? Could I choose to die? You said you'd give anything to live, she reminded me. Please mean it. I saw the hope in her eyes. She didn't want me to go. Perhaps she'd seen enough death for one day. I nodded. I'd stay. She pulled me close and breathed into my ear. Welcome to the sisterhood of sirens. I was whipped underwater, something cold forced into my veins, and though it frightened me, it hardly hurt at all.